All right, I've tried to allow everybody to record as many as I can see. If you don't have it, let me know. We do have a hard out for both Coach and Duane here, so we'll get to as many questions as we can. We can circle back. Everybody just ask one, and again, we'll have, being this NCAA thing being sent to everywhere around the country, they've asked us to name an affiliation just prior to asking your question. No, Coach knows just about everybody, but we'll do that for NCAA purposes here.
There they are.
All right, Coach, thanks for joining us. You want to start with some opening remarks or just go straight to questions?
Hang on just 1 minute. Sorry about that, guys. Yeah. All right, guys. Opening statement would be, I think yesterday was important for our guys to get some rest and recovery, and that'll need to continue to be the case today here. We're obviously playing a really good team to open in Oral Roberts, who can really score the ball. They're one of the best shooting teams I've seen on film, and their numbers back that up. They obviously have the leading scorer in the country, who's a really dynamic guard, and they play through him at a really high level. They have a couple first-team all-league guys, and they're a good team. They're a good team. When you look at their numbers and who they played 4 or 5 non-conference tournament teams, Arkansas being one, in which they were up for quite a bit of the game, Wichita State, in which they had a chance to win late. Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. And that Oklahoma State game was very close as well. So should be a great challenge. They're a tough, well-coached, really dynamic team, particularly shooting the ball. So getting our guys rested and recovered. I don't have any updates on. I don't think we'll have any real updates on Kyle for, for a little bit now.
All right, we'll go ahead and start with questions. Just a reminder to please state your name and affiliation before asking your question. We'll go ahead and start with Adam Giardi and Tony Girdman on deck. Adam.
Hi, Chris. This is Adam Giardi from the Columbus Dispatch. Nice to meet you. You guys have been battle tested this year and especially lately, but you guys don't have a lot of just overall NCAA tournament experience on the roster. And I wonder if is that a factor? Like, does that concern you at all? Or do you think that you guys have been through enough that doesn't really matter?
No, I think it's something you think of, Adam. I do. I do think you just, you're aware of the fact that most of our guys have not played because the tournament didn't happen last year when you were really hoping to get some of these guys, like Duane and Justin and even Kyle and, other guy, EJ guys experience playing in that tournament. The guys that played in the last one a couple years ago, those guys have moved on. Musa played an important role against Iowa State 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago, I believe, in Houston. I think it's something you think about, something you're thinking about, okay, what are our guys' nerves going to be? But as you said, it helped going through a tournament experience, I think. At this point, it's win or go home.
Next up is Tony Girdman with Patrick Murphy on deck. Tony.
Tony Girdman with Buckeyes Scoop. Chris, you mentioned going against the nation's leading scorer and guard Max Abmas. You've got a competitive scorer in Duane Washington. How do you talk to him about not turning this into a one-on-one situation at times?
I would hope that, Tony, Duane's mature enough to understand that this is, this is tournament. This is, you're playing to win every possession. So, playing to win, whatever that requires, but it certainly doesn't require getting involved in a one-on-one battle. And I think he's mature enough to understand that. Could it be something we discuss? I'm not sure. I think Duane's really grown in his ability to stay aggressive and yet also, play the game the right way. I really believe he's grown tremendously in that area, but it's also an ongoing process for him, as you guys know.
Next up, Patrick Murphy with Brendan Gulick on deck.
Patrick Murphy from 247 Sports. Chris, another Duane question. Over the weekend, set a record in points in a single NCAA tournament, but I think also led you in assists once and rebounds twice in a game. It just seemed he was playing controlled, knew what he had to do, kind of what you were just saying. Was that about as good and what you've wanted to see from Duane over the stretch of the weekend and a good sign heading into tournament play?
I hope so. I hope so, Patrick. I think, it is an ongoing process with Duane. He understands that, but he's such a gifted, offensive player. What we really need from him, and we're going to need it in this Oral Roberts game, is we're going to need him to really be on point defensively and continue to play smart, aggressive basketball. And that's really what we've, tried to challenge him with, is play smart, aggressive basketball. He's supremely confident, as we all know. Sometimes that's gotten him in trouble, and we're all aware of that too. I think he really felt senior day and felt in some ways that he had, not performed like he wanted to in the last 3 or 4 minutes. And I think that motivated him going into tournament time. Now he's got to stay consistent with that.
Next up, Brendan Gulick with Stephen Means on deck. Brendan.
Hey, Chris. Brendan Gulick, BuckeyesNow on Sports Illustrated.
I can't hardly hear him. I'm sorry, Brendan. We got
It's okay.
down here. I can't hardly hear it.
All right. That a little bit better, hopefully.
Yeah, I got you now.
Great. Cool. Brendan Gulick, Buckeyes Now on Sports Illustrated. Obviously, this team shoots the 3-point ball. Oral Roberts, I'm referencing. They shoot the 3 ball about as well as anybody in the country. I realize the numbers say that they're more than 11 a game, and that's number 1 in the nation. Defensively, of the teams that are playing in the NCAA tournament, they have allowed, I think, more points than just about anybody else in the tournament. So when you scout a team that can clearly shoot it and flip the game the way they have the ability to, but they're not that big. I think their biggest guy is roughly about the same size that maybe EJ Liddell is. What are some of the things you see in Oral Roberts when you scout them on both ends of the floor?
Well, just what you said, Brendan. Again, one of the best shooting teams I've seen on film. I mean, and they shoot it from everywhere. And their guard will pull up literally. He's a terrific player. I think he'll eventually be a pro. I really do. He just has the ability to shoot it from everywhere on the floor. That's what we've seen. I think positionally their size is maybe a little bit better than you think. They start, I believe, 6'5", maybe 6'6", 6'8". So positionally, they do have some size outside of their center, which is not a 7-footer. I think they really spread you out again, and they shoot it at 5 spots. And their pace of play does allow some teams to score the ball, and yet at the same time, they've obviously seen it be successful because they've outscored a lot of their opponents.
Next up, Stephen Means with Dan Hope on deck. Stephen.
Yeah, Chris, I was going to ask you about Max. I mean, NBA coaches have to deal with players who will literally step past half court and just throw up a shot. College players and college coaches don't necessarily have to deal with that all the time. I don't know. So I guess, how do you guard that? Yeah.
Well, our pickup point's going to need to obviously be different than what it is typically, Stephen, because of how dangerous he is. He really can come across half court and raise up, and he shoots it with great accuracy. I believe he's shooting 46% in league play from 3. It's phenomenal. It's phenomenal numbers. And you're right. It's kind of with Steph and Dame, they've kind of made that common to some degree in the NBA, but you don't see it as much in college. But it is part of his game. It really is part of his game. He's got the ability to raise up and shoot it. He's got strong legs. And he can shoot it from, right across half court, a couple steps off past half court, and he will.
Next up, Dan Hope with Sean Dunnigan on deck. Dan.
Hey, Chris, Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. You guys, coming out of this Big Ten tournament, playing 4 games in 4 days and making that run to the final, how much of a confidence booster is that for your team now that you're going into this tournament setting where you're going to have to play a bunch of games back to back and be able to string together wins again?
Well, I think, as I mentioned, Dan, I think getting a win under our belt there early against Minnesota was important for us. And I do think that it gave us a little bit of confidence. And I don't know that we were shook maybe as much as, people might have expected us to be shook during that closing stretch. And I've never been one, honestly, to really read too much into a losing streak or a winning streak in necessarily what that guarantees going into tournament play, because I don't think it guarantees much of anything. I think, you're trying to take the pulse of your team, and if they're in a good place, then you feel good about going into the tournament. And I felt like we were in a good place going into the Big Ten tournament. And now we got to get rest and get our guys in a good place. But I don't want to minimize, obviously we did need to play well in the Big Ten tournament. I think that helps us, and now we'll see if we can build on it in this in this game versus Oral Roberts.
Next up, Sean Dunnigan with Patrick Murphy on deck. Sean.
Sean Dunnigan with WBNS. Chris, you've been now in a bubble in Indianapolis for a little less than a week between the Big Ten tournament and now the NCAA. How has the team handled so far being in the bubble, and how do you think that it's going to be if you got, when you guys make a long run?
Well, listen, we're focused on is the day in front of us. But it's a good question. I get your question. I don't know. I don't think right now, we've been in here, as you mentioned, a week. I don't get the sense that our guys are fatigued about being in the bubble or being in Indianapolis and living kind of hotel life. I think, yesterday it was classes, Zoom classes, very little meetings because we wanted them off their feet. And hopefully they caught up on some sleep and rested their bodies. But I've not noticed any fatigue yet along those lines. I think we'll see. It is interesting being in this environment and obviously being here a week prior due to the Big Ten. It's just a really unique situation.
All right, time for just a couple more. Patrick Murphy with Tim Hall on deck. Patrick.
Patrick Murphy, 247 Sports. Chris, similar to what Adam and Dan asked you, but in terms of the entire Big Ten season, just how prepared did you think that made you? I know you talked a lot about how good this conference was, but how prepared does that make you then to take on, non-conference teams, which you haven't seen in a while, and you'll eventually run into some good ones if you make a run?
Yeah, I hope it really prepares us. I think the one thing you can't have is this false sense of well, we played in a great league, so that guarantees us something, because it doesn't guarantee us anything. We've got to earn whatever it is we get. And just because we played in, I think a league that is as good as it's been in a number of years, it doesn't guarantee any Big Ten team to perform well in the NCAA tournament. It's styles, it's matchups, it's how you play, it's how you perform. Having said that, I do embrace the idea of going through, as you guys know, a tough schedule and a tough league. I think that is a good thing. I think it's helped us in the past, but I just think you got to be careful, or, we have to be careful as coaches and players that we don't think it guarantees us anything, because it certainly won't.
We have time for one more question here from Tim Hall.
Tim Hall, 97.1 The Fan. Hey, Coach, I was up late on Sunday and watching BTN, and they had Fran was up there and Painter was there too. And I think it was McCaffrey who said, and I was wondering if you had any philosophies or anything when you get to this part of the week going into a sort of a new season with tournament play. And they asked him about seeds, being a 2 seed and a 15 seed, as if to maybe suggest that it's an easier path. And he just kind of had like a stone cold look on his face and said, I don't care about seeds. Like I don't look at seeds when we get to the tournament. Every team is good. Every team can beat you. And I mean, you get a Summit League team. They had you had to face a guy named Mike Daum the last time around. That was not an easy task at all. I just wondered if you do anything with your team or reminders or messages when you get to this part of the season.
Yeah. We will, Tim. We will. When we meet, we'll talk about, I think there used to be maybe a bigger gap, and those that, I know you followed college basketball for a number of years. There used to be maybe a bigger gap between, seedings and teams than there is now. There just isn't as much now. The teams, there is less of a gap in terms of, the quality of teams. And it really does come down to how you execute and how you play. And I agree with Fran on that. I don't think, I think, in some ways, fans can look at seeding and say, wow, that's really important to get that because of that. Coaches are looking at how you're playing, and they recognize that if you got in this tournament, with the exception of, I don't know, maybe on a given year, a team or two, if you get in this tournament, you're a really good team. And again, for us, it's easy to reference a team we played a couple years ago from the same league. And it was, as you guys know, a nail biter, right down to the wire. And also, you can also reference a team like this who played a number of NCAA who were seated pretty well and either was ahead for most of the game or had a chance to win. So I think we've got great respect for Oral Roberts. We've got great respect for our opponent and the challenges. And if we're fortunate enough to play well and win, then we'll move on to the next task at hand and know that's going to be a really quality opponent too. So I think that's how you have to approach it. And I think that's the maturity that's going to be required of our guys.
Coach, appreciate your
I
time.
think they do. Yeah, I do think they understand that. I think they understand it, but we'll make sure they do. But
Awesome. Coach, thank you.
okay. All right, guys. So,
All right, Duane, thanks for joining us. Again, put your hand up if you've got a question. Remember, state your name and affiliation. Before asking your question, we'll go ahead and start with Adam Giardi with Stephen Means on deck. Adam.
Hey, Duane, Adam Giardi with the Columbus Dispatch. You're about to step here on the national stage, and I think for those of us that watch you at Ohio State, we kind of know, what you bring to that. But what do you think that people who are tuning into the tournament maybe could be seeing you play for the first time? What are they going to see from you? What are they going to take away from watching you on this stage?
Yeah, so I'm super excited for us and the team to attack this tournament with 100% effort. I'm super excited for two reasons. This is the first one that I've been in 2 years. Last year, unfortunately, everything got shut down and we weren't able to participate in this. So, guys' emotions are high, and super excited to finally be able to play in the big dance again and get back to what it feels like. And my freshman year, only played a couple, maybe 10, 11 minutes. So got in there and I'm pretty sure I hit a 3 against Houston and maybe Iowa State. But this year it's going to be a little bit different. My role is different. Team is different. So, we talk about it with each other, how important it's going to be to stay together and make sure we're going in March. And on my side, I'm going to bring positive energy, great energy, picking up my teammates, playmaking and shot making, and just doing everything I can to try to help our team win.
All right, next up, Stephen Means with Dave Campbell on deck. Stephen.
Stephen Means, Cleveland.com. Duane, kind of a two-part question here. For starters, Oral Roberts has a guy who will literally step back half court and then pull. I mean, I don't know how often you've had to deal with guarding guys who play like that. There might be 2 other people on the planet who shoot the ball like that, and they both get paid to do this. One, how do you guard a guy when you know he can step outside court and pull? But also, if Chris Holtmann saw you shoot a shot like that in practice, what would his reaction be?
If coach told me to shoot a shot like that, I'll just have to make it. If I didn't make it, then he'll probably make me run or take me out, especially in practice. In the game, he'll take me out and be like, "What were you doing?" I'd be like, "What are you doing, Duane?" But Admas is their guard, leading scorer in the country. It's gonna be a great matchup. I'm super excited for our team to go against somebody like that. At that high of a level. Obviously, he is a very good player. He does shoot from wherever in the gym, and at that point, you just got to have good contests on his jumpers everywhere he is. Make sure that somebody's around him at all times, and just make sure you get a hand up. Percentages show that those are tough shots. So those shots he'll hit some. Definitely, he's a good player. But the more he takes of those, be all right.
Next up is Dave Campbell with Brendan Gulick on deck. Dave.
Hey, Duane, it's Dave Campbell with the Associated Press. Hey, piggybacking off that, if you think about shot selection and three-pointers, how do you sort of balance, knowing you're one of the better three-point shooters in the country, but making sure that you're taking the right shots and sort of balancing with that, how big of a shot it can be, but knowing that, trying to make it a smart one.
Yeah. You're talking about from my standpoint or
Yes. Yeah.
okay. Yeah.
For offensive.
Yep. That's something I've struggled with, honestly. Those are things, conversations me and Coach Debo have, me and my dad have of not settling. There's lots of times where, a three-pointer can get shot at obviously there's people in the world who can shoot from very, very far and deep and whatnot. So you can always get off a three. And I think working on it in practice and understanding what's settling, what's not, and taking what the defense gives you and getting what we want, those two things are different. And you just got to focus and lock in a little bit more and be really locked in on what you guys want to do as a group, attacking that game. And obviously sometimes you got to make plays, always got to be aggressive, but just knowing time and score and time and place is what I've been working on and getting pretty good at. So.
Next up, Brendan Gulick with Patrick Murphy on deck. Brendan.
Hi, Duane. Brendan Gulick with BuckeyesNow on Sports Illustrated. Hey, sort of a two-part question for you. First, can you give us an idea on how morale of the team is after the emotional roller coaster you guys went through last week? Obviously, all four games were really tight. And the second part is more about just playing at Purdue, a familiar court, a familiar venue, shooting angles that you've seen before. Does that help? Does it matter? What are your thoughts on playing at Purdue?
Yeah. So to answer your first question, the guys are doing better. It's hard. You're right. It was emotional, and the guys, we all fought so hard to get to where we were and put ourselves in a position to bring home a championship. And unfortunately, that wasn't the outcome. But guys were hurting. It hurt. So guys were hurting for the first night. It was Justice's 22nd birthday yesterday, so that kind of took our minds off basketball for a little bit. We was playing Uno and playing BS, the card game. So we had a little fun. Kind of relaxed us and settled us back into this gauntlet that we're about to attack starting on Friday. So. And to the second question, Purdue's a great arena. Mackey gets loud. I saw the court in there. It looks pretty nice. Says March Madness on it. Looks pretty cool. Obviously not sure how the fans are going to show up for either of us, but Purdue's not too far from Ohio State. So hopefully we can get a good crowd in there and it should be fun. Obviously we played there. I played. So, it'll be good to have a sense of familiarity, but it's just a lot of things can happen.
Next up, Patrick Murphy with Dan Hope on deck. Patrick.
Wayne, how would you, Patrick Murphy from 247 Sports, how would you define your play this weekend? You set a Big Ten tournament record for points. I think you led the team in assists one game, led in rebounds twice. It just seemed like you were really in control. How did you, when you looked back at it, how do you kind of define the way you played in those four games?
It reminded me so much of an AU tournament. And I think, back in the day, like even now, you're going to do anything in your power to win. There's a lot of things that I still could have done better, but, I felt like I left it all out there and tried to do everything I could to help my team win. And, it's not all just one person. It's on the team. And, got us to the championship, but we had a little bit more we could have controlled and got done. But, like I said, it just felt like an AU tournament. It felt like we were at Speeds Fieldhouse and on Championship Sunday. And at that point, you want it all. You want the ring, you want the trophy, you want to get it all. So you just want to do everything in your power to do it. Yeah.
Next up's Dan Hope with Tim Hall on deck. Dan.
Hey, Duane, Dan Hope from 11 Warriors. Just how much do you think it helped you guys prepare for this gauntlet of the NCAA tournament that you did just have these 4 games in 4 days, and you've proven to yourselves that you can compete in that kind of setting?
Yeah, the Big Ten is the best basketball conference in the country. I've said it multiple times in multiple interviews, and I don't think there's another conference that can get you ready for the NCAA tournament like the Big Ten can. You obviously got to take it with a grain of salt. You got to understand that it is what it is, and this conference is the toughest. So, it can possibly mess you up. As we lost 4 in a row towards the end of the regular season. But understanding that, we're still the same team. We just made some executed poorly late or whatever the case may be. We bounced back, found a way to get to the championship and, have the chance to play for a ring. So that just shows how locked in we are and bought into what we're trying to do here. And we're super excited for this run.
All right, and our last 2 questions come from Timmy Hall and Adam Giardi. Tim.
Hey, Duane, Tim Hall, 97.1 The Fan. I'm just wondering if what you did at the end of the Big Ten tournament, if internally it's like what we all saw, where you've been a good player already, one of the best on this team, but your game seems to be transforming to a different stratosphere in front of everybody's eyes. I just was wondering if there's what's going on behind the scenes, that's leading to you elevating your game here.
I just been believing in myself, man, at the highest level. So my coaches and my teammates, my family, my support system. It's always been like that for me, but I just been doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. Like I ain't changed nothing up. I just been sticking with it and understanding that there's a process with this basketball thing. You gotta trust it and you gotta fully give yourself into it. And once you do that, you see results. You see greatness slowly coming into fruition, and that's all I want as a player. That's all I want for us as a team, for the coaches. Great, so at this point, I'm just trying to do everything I can in my power to help win basketball games and just keep surviving and advancing.
All right, we'll finish up with Adam Giardi. Adam.
Adam Giardi, Columbus Dispatch again. You mentioned a moment ago that when I asked you about being in the tournament the first time, and you said how you think you hit a 3 or 2, but what does that feel like when you're stepping onto that stage for the first time? And I know it'll be different without the crowds, but this is a team that doesn't have a lot of NCAA tournament experience on it because obviously we didn't have one last year. But what do you remember about stepping on that court for the first time in the NCAA tournament that so many of your teammates are going to be experiencing for the first time this year?
Yeah, man, I'm super excited. This is one of the coolest, most historical things I've ever been a part of. We're in a gigantic bubble in multiple hotels right now, and we get to play the game we love and walk past each other like it's AAU back in the day. So, I think for us, we're just taking it all in, understanding where we're at, what we're doing, how cool this actually is, and I think it's really opening people's eyes and just understanding like, hey, at the end of the day, it's just a basketball game. Obviously there's stuff that we got to work on, scout this and this, but at the end of the day, it's just basketball. And I think it's connected us so much more, got us all bought into to the end goal of what we want. I'm not sure if it'll change too much. Obviously the tournament is the March Madness, the name, all this cool stuff and brackets and just little nerves here and there. Definitely going to be some guys nervous and but those will shake out as soon as you get on the court. It's just basketball. You got to go out there, do what you do, play your role, and we can get some stuff done. So,
Duane, thanks for your time, man. Good luck this week.
Thank you, guys. Here you go, Wally.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everyone. Appreciate you.
Thank you.